Hello, everyone. Hey, Mani, how are you doing?
Hi, thank you, Daniel.
Awesome. Let's give everybody a couple minutes to join and check if they can all hear us. I believe everybody can hear us. How are you doing, Mani? What's new?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's getting busier as usual. We thought we're gonna have some peaceful year to enjoy, but I think this year would be even more accomplished.
Definitely. So I believe everybody can hear us. Just doing a last check to make sure before we start. We have quite some to talk about and to cover today. So if you guys allow me 1 or 2 minutes, I will quickly do a couple of checks and we will kick off here. Ah, cool. Everybody can hear us. Also, Mani, we have a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about 2024, the roadmap, token economics. So I would say let's dive into it and see where we are at. Starting with 2024. So, Mani, 2024, we had a lot of achievements that year. Do you mind going through what we have launched in 2024 and what makes you excited about these launches?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I think 2024 was like the most uh, comprehensive year in terms of the tech revolution that we had in energy web. So, as you all know, we launched a completely new parachain. It went live in January 2024, and it has been upgraded several times with a lot of features. It has been tested, and we have scaled up to 1,800 worker node subscriptions around the world, and multiple solutions which they are in the production scale, and we have around 9.8 million tokens being locked by operators of basically compute providers. And we also accomplished, we went live with our software as a service platform. So we have created several platforms as a service for enterprises, based, starting from APIs, blockchain APIs, RPCs, and running a node, running a validator node, collator nodes, and also the worker nodes as a service. And we also like recently launched like EWT payment for all those services as well. And there are companies and there are lots of individuals are already utilizing it. And this is just amazing to see how we accomplished in 2024.
Yeah, because it's very important for us to create an environment where those enterprises can easily connect to our chain, so easily get the APIs they need, easily access RPC services, easily even the energy web token payment integration for token holders. Because I often get a question like, "Hey, why are you guys building this? Why is this interesting?" If we want to onboard enterprises, we need to make sure that the infrastructure is there. Um, well, other than that money, we also expanded with the web-based version of the Energy Web X marketplace, correct?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest innovations that we have designed and implemented and successfully rolled out was this marketplace application. It was basically providing an easy entry for compute providers or worker node operators without having much knowledge of how to deal with crypto and tokens, and also knowing how to run basically blockchain nodes or compute nodes. They just could easily connect their wallets and get subscribed, and then their worker node starts working and they could just monitor it. And we have accomplished it by getting it approved into getting into Apple Store. And also we have multiple versions now available for Ubuntu, for even Raspberry Pis and all those kind of operating systems, which is just great to see how it evolved from there. And then the recent evolution was the web-based application, which is essentially required even more towards our 2025 roadmap, that we're going to provide more staking options before they become a compute provider or before they become a worker node operator. So these are all pretty much aligned, and we provided multiple options for them to run worker nodes. So it was not just a desktop application, but they could also run it via our as a service model. They could run it on their own compute machines or on any other cloud provider.
Yeah, which is very important for decentralization. And we have had a couple of conversations going on in our channels about, hey, what is the most decentralized option? But with this also comes, hey, we need to have options because one loves to run it on the native desktop app, while the other wants to run it in a cloud, all set up for him. And we also have people who want to bring their own clouds in, and they want to own everything on their own cloud. So having those options is really important. But Mani, that's not it. If we go to the next slide, we can also see that we had some expansions on real world customer projects.
Yeah, exactly. So it was an amazing year that we have actually went into the full production scale, and it's just great to see that. I think Energy Web is one of those very few projects who have managed to accomplish such a mission, that having a blockchain enabled like an enterprise public solutions into getting into this massive scale. So we have launched our SAFC registry, and we also like launched our catalyst, which was a green proof for maritime. We also had green proof for bitcoins, the project that we have completed successfully. And within this year, we're just starting the new phase of that project, which is pretty amazing to see that it goes into the full scale production as well. And then green proof for EVs. We have had a lot of projects, private, confidential POCs, and a lot of other projects. And there are some more is coming within this year. And we also launched a mobile application, which was to identify how we can get like a B2C model being adopted in such scale. So yeah, those were like basically customer projects, and we also had quite number of EU Horizon projects that we have completed and we just started. And also with the project in Australia, we have successfully concluded. Now it's going the final stages of testing before it gets into the production. And we're seeing a lot of good news is that the basically a new kind of 20 million budget is being approved for next year for Australia to get into the full production scale based on what exactly we have built over there. So these are all uh, amazing news from the enterprise perspective.
And can we safely say that Australia is one of the market leaders? Like we have learned everything about the EU projects because Johannes yesterday had a session. But Australia is always like taking the action right away. Correct? We are working with Australia over 3 4 years now, right, Mani?
I think it's starting from 2018 that we have started to work and brainstorm on the design of all those projects. But they have a very well established and very well structured phase phase by phase kind of roll out into the production.
Yeah.
So they have a very proper planning and also the budgetings in order to do the projects into a massive scale. But if any solution would like to be successful in across the any kind of a global scale, or I would say like a regional or country scale, uh, it has to be proven in a large markets like Australia, which has the largest number of rooftop solars over there. So that's where it was very essential for us to make sure that those projects gets into the production grade state and being accomplished successfully.
Well, I often also get the question, how does a roadmap on the tech side look like? So we included the roadmap of 2024. We have a lot of individual tracks that we are maintaining and updates within those tracks. Mani, anything you want to shed some light on here before we move on to 2025? Because I know that's what everybody's waiting for.
Yeah, so I think as you all see, 2024 was just an amazing year. When I look at back at the roadmap, I really cannot believe that we managed to successfully accomplish all kind of plans that we had in picture. Not just from the software as a service, a launchpad, but also to launch a completely new blockchain and having linked to our previous legacy blockchain and launching a new marketplace desktop application, which we did not have an experience before in Energy Web, but of course in elsewhere as well. A mobile application, and also all these EU projects that we are all involved, and our contribution to those across different functions. It was just an amazing to see that we managed to accomplish up to this state. It was quite an accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
So, but what we would like to make sure that we have established a very good tech a roadmap. We have successfully accomplished to implement those. We have shown our abilities to be able to get into the production scale. So now we need to make sure we moved into the next state, which we will talk about. What is the most important for us?
Exactly. So let's go to 2025. Well, Q1 is almost over already. What have we done in Q1, man?
Yeah, in Q1, I think it mainly was enabling the payments on the launchpad for EWT. We always had the fiat payments via the euro payments using the legacy like payment provider integrations. We also enabled like an XEM support, and we also got EWT listed on the decentralized exchange on the Polkadot ecosystem. So a lot more of XCM integrations would be coming soon for different kind of use cases, um, which we'll talk about later. We also did like a web-based application, which was just a portion of the marketplace desktop application, but it was a lot of work in order for us to make sure it provides the features as is needed and as smoothly as possible for token holders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and server-based application worker nodes. If you go back, server-based worker nodes was just what we launched, and we made it open source. Yeah, I forgot what was the last item over there.
I think it was nomination and carbon aware compute.
Yeah, we will talk about this when we get into the state that we will talk about the next week announcements.
Yes. So, Mani, let's now talk about what's going to happen from here. So, 2025 is going to be our biggest year so far. Let's slowly go through what updates we have, how this would look like, and why this is so exciting. Let's start with Q2, Mani.
Yeah, so I think we had a live event back in January together with Jesse and Ed and yourself. We discussed about the plan. So if you look at it, Energy Web Chain has been operational since 2019, right? And the Energy Web Token stands on the Energy Web Chain. It defines with the very specific tokenomics and the specific governance. It's somehow like what do you call semi-permission kind of chain, um, and but all of our attractions and the tech evolutions is built on top of the Energy Web X, which is the worker node networks. And all of our solutions, the uniqueness of those is basically the worker node networks and smart flow and what we have created on our parachain. So one thing which is missing is the entire security of the blockchain. It need to be also the same place as the governance it happens. So we needed to be able to move into the governance and the new tokenomics into the place that it's most importantly needed for the worker node operators. So if we would like to make sure our solutions are secure, the security layer, it need to be secured with more number of tokens and very robust governance. And also we want to move away from being in charge, and we want to move into the full permissionless governance approach. So we have came up with proposals, and we have, as we discussed in January, and the proposal has been prepared, and it has been also went for the voting with Energy Web Chain validators. And so far, the what you call the result was amazing. So everyone was just completely agree with that. I think the voting would be concluded next week, and that's where we can officially announce all the results. But yeah, we are way over the threshold for the full approval to move into the new upgrade proposal. So what was in the upgrade? Upgrade was essentially talking about improved tokenomics, Energy Web token to becomes like an ERC20, and also Energy Web technology stack becomes like a multi-chain. And of course, this comes with a lot of other innovative ideas, like bring your own token that we discussed about, and liquid staking. So we can go through each one of those, but I think I can reserve it for the other slides that we would like to go to specific. But what would happen in Q2, in a nutshell, is we will do the official announcements, and new versions of the white papers would come out, and then we will start developments for the upgrade. And then in Q3, we would be ready to roll out. So what we roll out, it would be multiple phases of the rollout. But the first, it would be the native bridging support, that Energy Web X would be able to have a native bridging with Energy Web Chain, which is already there, but with Ethereum as well. The new tokens that it would be stay on as a ERC20 token. And there would be also important that Energy Web token supplies that's supposed to be 100 million. Until today, we have 60 million tokens. It has been in the circulation. So all the remaining 40 million, based on the previous Energy Web chain logic, that will be stopped from there. And we will start with the new, we call it dynamic supply on Energy Web X, which is a very interesting concept that we can discuss about. But that would essentially what has happened. So the supply at the 60 million, it would be locked, and then we move into the new dynamic supply model that would proceed on the Energy Web X based on the governance. And when we move into the open governance, that would be a lot more kind of transparent and permissionless for all those decisions to be made. Right now, even the voting, it happens on the platforms that we have for validators, but afterwards, when we move to the open governance, everything would be publicly transparent and visible to everyone.
That's awesome. So two things that I want to mention here. So obviously there were a lot of discussions about lifting and lowering, and why we call it lifting and lowering versus bridging. So Mani, I will tell you what I think, and then you can let me know if that's correct. So usually bridging is a third-party application where the same collators need to perform the work in the back. And for us, lifting and lowering is embedded in our, like, how do we call this? In our token model, in our native chain. Is that correct?
Yeah, so first of all, we need to understand there are many ways of the bridging that it happens for the tokens. There are lots of what do you call bridging approach that are there. There are permissioned what do you call bridges. There are permissionless bridges. There are fully decentralized and permissionless, like a snow bridge that we have on the Polkadot ecosystem. The existing legacy bridge, which is from Energy Web Chain to the wrapped Energy Web token, is somehow like a, I would not call it centralized, but we are the one who was running the backend. So, but in order for a token, an ERC20 token, which is on the mainnet Ethereum, in order to be, for that token to be accepted as a legitimate token across the exchanges, it also needs to be proven that those who control the supply of that token, they are also the same group that they are in the control of the governance of the whole Energy Web X, right? Energy Web X. So basically, it needs to be a native bridging that it's handled by the same governance that happens on the Energy Web X. That's why it's very important to understand this is not really a bridging. This is basically a part of the core consensus and the tokenomics functionality of the Energy Web token, that the collators who are in charge, they're staking large number of tokens to run the node. They are basically validators of the Energy Web X chain. They are in full control or in charge of the whole permissionless, like a token supply control, and then the lifting and the lowering of the token. So it's not really the same concept as the bridging. It's a bit different because it's part of the native functionality of the chain, and I explained why it needs to be so. So yeah, I think that's why the terminology is a bit different from bridging.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, super exciting, Manny. Let's go into some details. So what we can see here is Energy Web 1.0, which we called, that's what we have right now. and Energy Web 2.0, which is how the structure will look like in the future.
Yeah,
The, go for
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so on the top, you see what is the current basically setup. The current setup is there are certain number of tokens that's supposed to be minted for the next 10 years. And as you see, the block rewards is providing the rewards of the or Energy Web tokens to the community fund, which is being used for operations and the team, and also it goes to the validators. So we will discuss about whether the amount that goes to the validator, is it enough? Is it attractive enough to have a lot more validators on board? Or it's not, because if you look at it, it also needs to be based on the token price. If the token price is very low, it might not be that attractive for the validators to basically run the node, right? So, and also the community fund is basically mainly, of course, is being what you call controlled by Energy Web, but is via the governance, which is openly being uh, what you call all the decisions are being made on.
Voted on, discussed with the validators.
Yeah, exactly. But that is not really the best way that we want to move forward. We want to make it completely permissionless and more efficient, what you call management of the community fund. But very important is this is completely separate from the worker node parachain. It means that we were manually somehow required to get the tokens from the community fund and provide over there as a rewards for token holders. And there is also not much from the security perspective on the parachain itself, that the network is being completely secured by large number of tokens in stake by the validators. So it was somehow it required to be updated due to multiple reasons. It's better management of the community fund, being more open and transparent management about that, and more efficiently being distributed to worker node operators, and also being a huge incentive for the validators or basically collators on the Energy WebX. So that's where it's very important that we define that as a dynamic supply. So it means any future supply that it would be defined by that complex logic that we can get through this later on. It would be going to the community fund and also the worker node, the collators on the Energy Web uh, parachain, and the stakers, token holders can stake their tokens, and they can receive stake EWT, and then they can use a stake EWT in order to subscribe into the worker node networks. On the other side, we want to allow the basically customers or enterprises to come and create those solutions using any tokens, and not just EWT. So that's where it's very important to have a way that we support basically bring your own token concept, or what we also get into the discussion, we will explain that bring your own economy. So I think we will get into those exciting updates. So that's why it's really essential. It's all towards a better security, better technology, and a more updated technology stack, and more efficient rewards, and also incentive for the worker node operators, collators, and validators. So
Yeah,
this is in a nutshell what it's different from Energy Web Tokenomics 1.0 and 2.0.
perfect. So, Mani, when I watched this, I made a scenario for me. So this is the lighter version without too many tech details. So how this works is you have Energy Web tokens, which you can now stake to secure the network. So normal staking, which we had in the past. On this, you obviously earn something, whatever percentage this must be, and you earn this in Energy Web token. But while you have your Energy Web token staked, you receive stake Energy Web token. And with staked Energy Web token in the future, you can provide compute, obviously for the compute security on Energy Web X, but earn Ethereum, USDC, Bitcoin, or which we will talk about, bring your own economy or bring your own token. And this means basically that with those tokens that I earn, obviously because I'm a huge Energy Web token fan, I will acquire more Energy Web tokens. And at one point, Money, I don't have to sell my Energy Web tokens anymore, because with the staked Energy Web tokens, I can do so many things in DeFi with the utility, with opportunities Is this correct?
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at this model makes your energy web token the golden token that you never want to have less, but you always want to have more because it's your entry point. You apart from you earn staking rewards on the proof of stake. When you get stake EWT, which is equivalent to the amount that you earn over there, you can use those in order to subscribe into the solutions. Solutions are created by different enterprises and different even individuals, different startups, right? And they could come up with different type of tokens. It could be also a new token that they would like to create, and that's where it gets more interesting with this bring your own economy. It could be some startups, some venture capitals. They want to start with a new token, and that new token, it only would be for very specific use to the compute providers, and that compute is very essential for one functionalities of a solution. And the rewards for those compute providers, it would be in that new token. So they can actually we gonna allow them to be able to create their own new tokenomics and completely new tokens. But for all those compute providers, stake of the energy web token requires in order to get into the subscriptions and earn rewards in that token. Same applies for when we would create a new solutions on energy web X, the rewards would be in USDC. So it means that you will use your stake EWT, which is STEWT, and then you will use those to stake into the worker nodes, and then you earn USDC, which is essentially provided by the solution creators.
Perfect. So we will come back on how this would work and the dynamic supply. But first, Mani, let's talk a little bit about our native bridging architecture. So how is this going to work? Because we now need to have somewhere lifting and lowering to and from Ethereum. How does this work in general?
Yeah, so currently we support like lift and lowering between Energy Web Chain and Energy Web X. So what happens that in order for you to get the equivalent amount of EWT on Energy Web X, you actually need to lock it or send it over to particular smart contract, which we call it lifting mechanism. The exact same principle will applies on the mainnet Ethereum. So there would be an ERC20 token on mainnet Ethereum, and then in order for someone to be able to lift their tokens on Energy Web X, they would require to lift the tokens from mainnet Ethereum to Energy Web X in order to stake it and become an operator for further use. So what is very important is currently we have a single bridging, native bridging, but we are gonna expand it into the and then we're gonna have the new tokens on mainnet Ethereum, which it can be bridged into the Energy Web chain. So the question is with that, it's also very important that because ERC20 token listing on exchanges and also accessing to the DeFi ecosystem and massive, large DeFi kind of opportunities on the mainnet Ethereum is unbelievably huge. And that's where it enables the EWT to be able to be blended in all those opportunities when it gets into the ERC20 token. So that's where how the native bridging works. We also have a legacy kind of bridge, which is EWTB, which basically that is not really energy web token, is a wrapped energy web token on mainnet Ethereum. So our ERC20 token, it would be not the same. It would be a actual energy web token on mainnet Ethereum.
Exactly. So everyone who is using the old bridge, don't use it.
Yeah,
Only
so
use it to come back to the energy web chain, obviously.
yeah, one thing which is very important is every single transactions of lift and lowering, it also being validated and being signed by all the collators or basically validators of Energy Web X, and that's why it's so important that is part of the native bridging. So
Yeah. Cool. So after this, Money, we are going to talk about how we get our. Is the slide working for you? Yes, there you go. So obviously everybody asks, hey, how does it work with the enterprise payments? How does it work to get its own chain? And we have been trying some stuff out, right? We are talking about this for a couple of years. What are the plans here, Mani?
Yeah. So first of all, like we currently have, of course, like a payment mechanism in our SaaS platform, which is collection of the fiat from the enterprise customer, right? But then it also comes into the picture of how we transform those fiat money into an on-chain token. And that's basically we also want to be avoid to be in the picture to manage that, right? That's where we are working with a lot of other partners, and we are very close to finalize the approach that we want to enable the fiat ramp, which means that the customer will get KYC or KYB by the fiat RAM provider, and then they will be issued like a virtual IBAN, and then from there they can directly transform the fiat payments into the tokens. So there are multiple ways that that would be established. So it's directly to the USDC, or it could be also be swapped into Energy Web tokens on the decentralized exchanges. So it means that a customer makes a payment, a fiat payment, and then they can straight away receive the tokens on the Energy Web Chain account in different kind of currencies that they desired. And in the form that they would create a solution on Energy Web X, that payments in fiat will automatically transform into the tokens that need to be rewarded out to the worker node operators. So
Right.
that is essentially what we're going to implement in Q2, and we want to go live with that. It means currently we have uh, payments with EWT, but we also have payments in fiat. But we are Energy Web is the mediator in between. But we would like to replace that completely with an open what you call partners that
A
it's
partner, yeah, that can take care of the on and off ramping. And we have
exactly.
major partners in the industry. I will not name anyone because otherwise everybody would think that that's our partner. But yeah, so we don't want to take care of it. We want to make sure that there is a partner. How this works in general is you get an IBAN address. That's where the USD euro will be sent to, and then the partner switches to a USDC or whatever,
Yeah.
which obviously then can be used for your staked Energy Web token in the Energy Web Expo.
I just would like to mention that this is not just for the those who create the solutions, but those whoever wants to have Energy Web tokens, they could just use like an Apple Pay in a platform in a website that we call it EWT Fiat Ramp, and they receive EWT on their address on Energy Web X. So
Yeah,
that's going to be a lot easier entry point for worker node operators who are not even familiar with crypto.
that's great money. So we were not supposed to say that, but in the future, money, be careful. In the future, we will have a website where you can just go on, write down how many Energy Web tokens you want to have, and if you want to stake it, and then it would be as easy as 3 clicks, Apple Pay, and you're ongoing with your nodes or with your staking rewards.
Exactly.
Cool. Money. Token utility onboarding. Bring your own token, which we often refer as BYOT. What does this mean?
Yeah, so this I think I briefly described this, and we also mentioned this during the live event in January that we're gonna allow the solutions to be created and the rewards to be paid out in different tokens. And those tokens are based on the assets that companies or corporates or solution builders they are comfortable of holding it, and they will comfortable of rewarding out to the worker node operators. So that's where the model we call it BYOT. It means there is an existing token that they would have the asset that they hold, but they would like to distribute it as a rewards to the worker node operators. There is also another concept which I think I also briefly explained this that is a bring your own economy, and basically is an economy launchpad. Is allows venture capital startups even to create a new token, and that token will be deployed as a token on mainnet Ethereum or on also on different chains, and then that could be specified as the reward token for worker node operators for a particular solution group that they are creating on top of Energy Web X. So it means that they will define their own tokenomics for the rewards, They also create their own tokens to be incentivized for different solutions. And we are in the final stages of a discussion with some of our very big partners that they would specifically want to get into the massive scale of adoptions of this model in the Q4. So I think we will get into more details of how we exactly enable those on Energy Web X, because now it's not really clear, but we can get into those details at the later stage. But just bear in mind that um, bring your own token and bring your own economy. These are the concepts that we're gonna make it as a features on Energy WebEx.
Yeah. And Manny, just a question for me. This bring your own economy. Would this mean that I can also just create my own full stack economy with a token?
Yeah, if you have a good reason and if you have a good use case, and you have a good compute kind of scenario, which you have a demand for it as well, you can create that solutions on Energy WebEx. You create your own tokens. It's all new tokens, and then operators still need to stake EWT, but after they stake EWT, they will earn rewards in that particular token.
Okay, interesting. So then let's talk about how this will all look like after the upgrade. Let me just zoom in. Namani, go on.
Yeah, I think it's what you see at the right side are different roles of collators. And worker nodes, what we refer to, are basically the compute nodes, basically computer machines or servers or desktops, right?
Correct.
Uh, and also they owned by a compute providers. So as you see on top, there would be a dynamic supply, basically goes as a rewards to the security layer providers, which are collators on the Energy Web X. And at the left side, you see the contributor. They can stake their tokens with collators, and they can also become a collator, or they can be delegates of those collators. And based on their token that is their stake, they will receive SDEWT, which is these namings are not really final, but these are all the namings that we'll use for liquid staking of token. So they will receive SDEWT, and then that would be an entry point for them in order to subscribe into different solution groups, and they become compute providers. But bear in mind that slashing, it would be at two places. For the bad actors, they would be slashed. It means their SDWT will be decreased on both sides. If you do something wrong on the worker nodes network, you will be slashed with SDWT. It means you essentially will receive less from your stake EWT end of the day as well. So
Exactly.
you earn EWT and you also lose EWT for bad actors. And this is how it works for worker node operators. But the rewards for worker node operators, it's not just going to be EWT, but it could be in any different type of tokens. And that is depending on how solution creators would create it. So on top, you see the collators, basically, they secure the network transactions and they make sure the bridging, the native bridging is reliable. They can, of course, earn proof of stake block rewards in EWT. And it's completely permissionless. I think anyone can Energy WebEx becomes a collator. That's where we are moving toward. And they can also accept EWT from other contributors so they can participate in governance. Yeah, I think the worker nodes concept remains the same. They're running a custom logic or specific logics and earn rewards. Um, and also for the control, it always remains with the worker node operators that they can actually control. They can subscribe, unsubscribe. They can use their stake EWT to get into different solution groups. I think that's it's just a flow explanation of how it works for stake EWT.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So this brings us all to the dynamic supply. Money. There are a lot of questions about the supply. First of all, I want to tell everybody that we are not increasing the supply with hundreds of whatever. We have heard a lot of stories that were going on. So I'm also advising everybody to wait for these kind of sessions. As you see, there's a lot of thinking in the background. Mani, what does this mean? A dynamic supply adjustment?
Yeah, we try to avoid those the namings that is being used, right? Like as an inflation, because it's not really an inflation. If you look at it, the remaining tokens that's supposed to be minted for the next 10 years would just be supplied in a different way, right? And we don't know how and how much it's going to be, because we are moving toward this dynamic supply adjustment. So there are lots of similar research is being done towards like having a model where you have a demand side supply growth, and on the other side you have utility link supply reduction, right?
Yeah.
And if you see like in different kind of chains, it's being called as minting and burning, or like they call it inflation and deflation, but this is completely different. So why this is very important, because we want to make sure that that is a controlled and a dynamic supply, and is all adjusted based on the best factors that is required for the growth of the energy web token. So there are multiple factors involved, but these are all will end up toward like the model, which is basically uh, is responsive to what is going on chain and off chain, and is also has some smart capabilities that it can be adjusted according to the different conditions, and it's also going to provide the stability, and it's also going to be long-term sustainable, instead of like a one-time defining a particular rate and then they need to define a new rate every year and all those. So this is the model that we would like to go through, but we need to finalize the design and implement this. It takes time for us to completely test it and get this into the production. But this is what I'm trying to explain. If you go to the next slide, that you see that this is going to be like a kind of a complex mechanism for the supply growth and the supply reduction, based on a lot of factors. So, and what are those factors? The factors are based on, for example, uh, the transactions, worker node subscriptions, the price, the volume, and the liquidity. A lot of factors involved, on-chain and off-chain factors. And since we have worker nodes around the world, they can provide them these informations from what's going on outside of the blockchain and what's going on inside of the blockchain. And when you see, when we have a fiat ramp, and it means every single fiat payments is going to be automatically transformed into the token. It means entire sales of solutions, of adoptions, or revenue from the solution creators is going to be fully transparent on chain. That's where in that model we would be able to implement some kind of a complex mechanism like this. There are similar things that is being done. We're gonna do a what you call comprehensive article publishing, and what we have seen from like Ethereum, what we have seen in Polkadot, what we have seen in, for example, other networks like Astar, and also there are lots of research papers have created. But this is not something very simple. We're gonna actually take our time, do a
Yeah.
proper study, and design this and implement this. But this is happening within this year, that is going to be created and tested.
Yeah, perfectly explained, Mani. This is not something that we can explain in one session, so there will be additional documentation.
Yeah.
And as Mani just said, it depends on a lot of factors. It's not just a model that we push out and that's it. You have some tokens, this is going to come free in a year. No, it's dependent on the volume, trading, the number of worker nodes. It's really well thought through. Go,
Yeah,
Mani.
and also I would like to mention that it's very important not to forget, because a lot of other parachains, or even in the Polkadot ecosystem, these are all decisions of the open governance, right? So on top of this entire model that is need to be proven that it works, the open governance also applies on top, to just make sure the control doesn't go out of the hand. And it's basically although it's a dynamic supply formula, but it need to be in a controlled way that is not going to be attackable. For us, we want to make sure that this is not something attackable, and it's something that is being proven and tested before it gets into the production. So it's not really going to be a simple formula that, okay, let's have this number of supply and then let's see how it goes. No, it's a lot of factors involved. And why this can only be done on Energy Web X, because this is where you can actually directly see a revenue from the solution creators gets into the solutions and distributed to worker node operators, and these are all going to be transparent, available on chain. So that's where we also have a huge number of worker nodes around the world that they're staking AWT, and we make sure they reach consensus on the result of some off-chain data. It means a price of EWT, the volume, the liquidity, and all those they can get into the picture. So I think this there would be a lot of new uh, articles that we would get through once we getting closer to the final version of this.
Perfect, which brings us to the roadmap of 2025 from Q2, Q3. Um, Mani, what do you think is like the most complicated thing on the roadmap,
Yeah,
besides
so
obviously what we just discussed?
yeah, of course. So first of all, we're gonna publish our roadmap as a, like a Notion roadmap on our website, so everybody can see. You can also suggest additional kind of features if you would like this to be implemented. But we have different tracks. So on the Launchpad track, so the SmartFlow 2.0 is a quite important feature, and is also auditor console. So it would be a new role in the smart flow that they can audit a smart flow that is created by a company or by an individual. And we are also adding a KYC, a KYB. That is important to have it because we're going to also enable the fiat ramp. And also we're going to have organization management. What we learned from the organization we work with, they would like to have multiple people involved with different roles that they can control what kind of smart flow it can be published and how, and roles and permissions. So this is another feature. And we're gonna have the first ramp dashboards. So it means all informations of what solution is being created, how much it has been paid for, and what's the reward in what token and where it goes. This all gonna be transparent on a particular dashboard. So this is all is the work that is being worked on. On Energy Web X track is basically on our parachain. The EVM support is currently being tested by developers right now. Is going to be deployed within one month, or I think end of April or beginning May. It means Energy Web X will have a full support of EVM compatibility. Palettes are going to be there. You can deploy any smart contract which is already also it can be deployed on NG Web Chain, and we're also going to enable the same RPC. So the zero changes need to be done in order to have your smart contract being supported on Energy Web X. So the consensus 1.0, which is very important feature, was like currently is being audited twice, and now is going final stages of the fixes is going to be rolled out. And the collator staking, that's where we are actually starting the work, implementation on permissionless collators. Um, Also the unifications of the Energy Web X address. But just bear in mind that we also have our parachain leasing that is expires in August, but we are moving towards like um, what do you call uh, in the future, long-term future, it would be in the elastic scaling, but for now, it would be the agile core time.
Okay, interesting. And then Mani, obviously we have Q4 left. Um, so obviously Q4, what is the most exciting thing here for you?
Yeah, if you don't mind, you go back one slide. I can explain about the marketplace application. If you see that, yeah, so there is a feature, the consensus adjustment that is being done, and the marketplace app lifting from the Ethereum is going to be also enabled in Q2 and Q3, and we also going to have like a feature that you can do a collator staking. But you see something as branded marketplace, and that's where it's very important, and it's related to the bring your own economy model. So we are going to be able to completely rebrand the marketplace desktop application, but specifically towards a particular token that is going to be launched by separately in Q3, Q4, and that's it's where a different token is going to be rewarded for worker node operators, but still the staking it would be in EWT. So, but how that works or not, because that would be a different way that the marketplace application would be downloaded. The application will have an embedded license key that it's going to allow them or be basically whitelisted to be able to be an operator. So it's a very interesting feature. On the energy web chain, legacy energy web chain, we are going to basically have the hard fork, then upgrade of the reward contract to stop like uh, um, producing new supplies on energy web chain.
Mhm.
Uh, so that would happen on the energy web chain side, and we also gonna have the EWT and ERC20. Apart from that, there are lots of customer and EU projects that our teams are involved, and there are multiple projects that we just started, like Project Intelligence, U2 Demo. You have seen all those out there. Something which is very important is we are starting with our Universal Energy ID, which is one of our circles. We are uh, with some of our biggest partners or members. It's a co-funded approach that if we're going to implement the Universal Energy ID ecosystem and digital product passport as well. So yeah, we can now go to the next slide, Daniel, for the Q4 onwards. Yeah. So I think Q4 onwards is basically the SmartFlow 3.0. There are some features that we're going to include over there. And there are lots of requirements for digital spine also to be as a service in order to get into the massive scale of adoption across different energy markets. And then Energy Web X would switch to the local agile core time, which I mentioned, and worker node liquid staking will come in, bring your own token, open governance, and dynamic supply. These are all would be Q4 afterwards. Um, and yeah, fiat ramp integration, we also gonna put it inside the marketplace application, and a lot of UI enhancements, gamifications, and also liquid staking support. It also gonna be inside the marketplace application. Apart from that, other projects which are all existing and ongoing as well.
Correct. Well, Mani, that's a lot of information. I can see a lot of positive reactions right now in the community. Some of us even need to digest it. There is thing that is kind of new, Mani, that we are going to push out next week, which is the Carbon Aware nomination. Can you briefly go through how this works and what is new here? Because this is one of its own, right?
Yeah, this is one of it's one of its kind. It is the first ever that is being created. We work with the team in Green Software Foundation and also What Time, and we are very proud that we managed to build this. So basically, this is the very first carbon aware nomination. It means that a nomination of different kind of computes around the world, that it would be purely based on their environmental and sustainability factors. So the nomination, it would be looking at different worker nodes around the world, how green they are. Maybe in the simple terms, I can tell you that based on their registration information, their location, their consumptions, and all those information, that it would be in future attached to every single worker node. You see right now it's not there, but it would be part of the information that the worker nodes, it would be attached to the worker nodes. Based on all those factors and based on the forecast of the grid's emissions on the next 15 minutes that we get these information from the WattTime API. As you all know, WattTime API is one of the biggest APIs in the world. It's being used even by all of your iPhones around the world to know when would be the most efficient time for charging and not charging. So we are utilizing the same data source to identify the subset of the worker nodes which are the most sustainable that need to be nominated. And then the worker nodes, if you all have seen that we have done an upgrade to the worker nodes around the world, that they basically identify if they have been nominated on the next voting round, and then they would be only performing the work or performing the computations if they have been nominated. So this is the first of its kind carbon aware nomination for decentralized computes, and it's going to be covered what do you call via our press release, and we also going to publish our article which in detail explains how this works. So yeah, I think I'm pretty excited about this, to be honest.
Yeah, Mani, this is something new, and I've heard a little bit of the ins and outs. So there will be an article next week as well to give everybody the details here. But I'm very very looking forward to the launch of this one. Um, Mani, is there anything else you feel like we have forgotten to mention or something that was not clear? I'm also trying to check within the community if anything was not really clear.
No, I think one of the items that I forgot to mention is our AI support that is going to be in the Smart Flow feature. It's one of the very important features that is going to be added into the worker node is the support for MCP servers. I think we can do a separate call to discuss exactly what the worker nodes will do with AI, especially around our use cases in the energy sector. But it's very important that the worker nodes uh, of the Energy Web X ecosystem will support AI computation with that update that is going to happen pretty soon. I think it was somewhere in the roadmap. I forgot where it was exactly, which month, but that's we can do a dedicated session to specifically cover about AI. I think
AI.
this we have promised before, and
Yes.
yeah, I've not forgotten, so we're going to cover that as well. And I'm also looking forward to have a session that we can have an open questions being asked by the community and we can answer those. I don't mind that as well.
Perfect. Well, there was a lot. Thank you, Mani. I think it's very good to have you online. I hope everybody likes the new model. If there are any questions, feel free to jump in our channels and give us a follow on X, NEGWeb X. And then, Mani, let's go back to work together and prepare some documentation and prepare a talk about AI and the AMA and see each other in a month or so.
Yes, of course.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.